So here we go. All right. As a personal trainer and yoga instructor with over 15 years of experience, Megan has worked with hundreds of clients and students who experience the aches, pains, and challenges of long hours working at a desk. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. In her sessions and workshops, Megan shares these tools and knowledge to empower students with tools to ease tension and lower stress levels. Hello, did you catch that? Lower stress levels to optimize their physical and mental health for better focus, consistent energy, and enhanced performance. We are thrilled to have with us today, Megan Nolan.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much, Mickey, for that lovely introduction. So I'm just going to share my screen here and pull up my slides. Just give me one quick second. Okay, here we go. Can everyone see that? Let me know if you can. And
it looks beautiful.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mickey. Okay, well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Great to be here with you all. So as Mickey said, I am a personal trainer and a yoga instructor, and I really help people to take their health off the back burner and make it a priority. And a huge part of our health is our posture. You've probably been told at some point in your life, you know, sit up straight and shoulders back, and that's really powerful and sound advice. And whether the person that told you that knew what they were getting after, or they just were telling you because you could, you know, stand taller and have more energy when you do that, it's really important for us to be aware that our posture definitely influences our energy level. It actually influences your mood and your stress level as well. So today what I want to share with you are the ABCs of strong posture so that you can sit, stand, and walk taller. So my name is Megan Nolan, as we've mentioned, and I am from Yoga at My Desk. I help people in their workplace, whether that's at home or in their office or work setting, to integrate the tools of yoga into their day to feel better. So yes, you are hearing roosters. Let me just do a little side note. We have a lot of roosters here on Maui, and so I like to remind people that whenever you hear the rooster crow, it means take a deep breath, okay? So just keep that in mind because it'll keep happening. Okay, so I'm originally from Canada, and I've lived here on Maui for about 8 years, and it's been a wonderful journey for me to begin to integrate the tools of exercise and yoga together because they're very complementary. And so that's what I do is I weave those two different fields of study into my work and my offerings with people and what I'm going to share with you today. So whether you're working at home or in an office, the realities of our modern life are that we spend a lot of time sitting down. On average, people sit for about 8 hours every day and are typically on a device about 11 hours every day. I haven't got my most recent update on my screen time, but I definitely know that my screen time has gone up significantly in the last week and the week before that even. So we're all spending a lot of time sitting down and using devices, whether that's a computer, a tablet, or a phone. And typically, when people are working, they're using about 2.3 devices at a time. So that means, you know, your laptop and your phone. And a lot of people have multiple screens. They maybe have a couple phones going on. So about 50% of people worldwide use 3 or more devices at a time. So that's just astonishing, right? And as a result of this, we're starting to see some changes in our body, and a lot of people are starting to experience neck and shoulder tension. So maybe let me know in the comments if you deal with that as well, because it's very, very common. About 70% of the world's population has what they call tech neck. So that means neck and shoulder pain as a result of using all the technological devices that we all love, right? I'm on a computer, here's my phone. Like there's a lot of it in our life. And in addition to that upper back and neck pain, lower back pain is the most common reason that people go to the doctor. I mean, more likely before this whole situation has come up, there's been changes obviously, but lower back pain is again very common. And these have to do with how much time we're spent sitting down. Our bodies and the human body in general is designed to move. It's designed to move throughout the day, and it does better when we're constantly in motion. But sitting down doesn't really allow for that unless you learn to integrate the tools of yoga and take little breaks throughout the day. which also increases your productivity. So we'll get to that in a moment. So what we're seeing now is what they are calling a postural de-evolution. And if you look at this little graph here, or image rather, you can see on the far left side was, when we walked on all fours, and then we gradually evolved the ability to stand on 2 feet, and then we started using tools. And then you see right about at the peak, right in the middle, as soon as we started using tools, we started to see more of that rounding or folding or flexing forward. And now the most common tool that we use is on the far right, a computer, right? That's obviously a much older computer than the one you're probably on, but a computer nonetheless. And so what we're seeing is a postural de-evolution. You can see here how we peaked and we were walking upright, and now we're starting to kind of fold in on ourselves. And this is, again, because of all the sitting that we do and typically being on a device. And so it's really, technology changed the way that we are working, but it's also significantly impacting our bodies. And if it continues this way, if we are not proactive with our posture, if we're not doing little things throughout the day, and thankfully it doesn't take much, it's just a matter of getting into the habit of doing it, it's predicted to really change our bodies and our health drastically. So a really interesting study came out, and it was based on data from 3,000 office workers in France, Germany, and the UK. And they shared what they were feeling, as a result of working on the computer and being at a desk all day. And so very consistently, and let me know in the comments if any of these sound familiar to you. They were feeling maybe muscle pain and tension, neck and shoulder or back pain, getting headaches, eye strain, high blood cholesterol, high blood pressure, maybe weight gain, maybe diabetes, stress, insomnia, depression, anxiety. These are all very common things. And believe it or not, they are all impacted by your posture. So the reason behind all of these things being developed and being so common that they determined was long periods of physical inactivity. So that means sitting on your duff and not moving very much. So as a result of all this data that they had, they started to create predictions of what the work colleague of the future might actually look like and what she would be dealing with from a health perspective. And so these predictions are kind of alarming. And so they are interesting to look at and a little bit shocking. So they called her Emma. And so this is what the work colleague of the future is predicted to look like if we just continue to sit and we just slouch over the computer all day and we're not getting up and moving our body. So very commonly people were, predicted to have physical pain, a weak, rounded posture, which we see a lot of the time. Like if you think about somebody who's on their phone, you can see that they're very rounded over and slouched. Will likely be dealing with eye strain, headaches if they're not already. So heart issues, your heart is actually affected by when you sit down, your blood flow slows down a lot. And so that can cause your blood pressure to spike, your cholesterol levels to go up. It can lead to heart issues, heart disease, and this can also cause weight gain because your body's not doing very much, so it's not burning a lot of calories. And so this can shift us into what's called metabolic syndrome, or now being called sitting disease, which is a collection of risk factors such as high blood sugar, high blood cholesterol, high blood pressure, and weight gain around the midsection. So these are all very common things, especially here in the Western world where people are spending a lot of time sitting down. And so this is really important because then it can also have an impact on our respiratory system, so our lungs, and it can cause a lot of stress. So these are all predictions, and this is what she was predicted to look like. So it's kind of an alarming graphic. Like if you look at her upper back, and these are all things that were predicted to start to happen if we're not proactive. But luckily, we're going to get lots of tools today to help you with that. I think it's important for us to see this, but I just want you to know that if you take action, and I know you're all action takers because you're here today, if you take action and you start to integrate these little tools, this is not our destiny. It's just a matter of like, okay, this is a potential reality if we're not proactive. So it's all about taking action, right? So the good news is, is that we're going to learn a lot of tools to keep us out of that zone, to make sure our body stays healthy, bring our stress levels down, and to keep your body and your mind healthy and happy, whether you're working from home or you're working in your more traditional office space. Okay, so let's get started with that. So we're going to share the ABCs today of strong posture. So as with anything, the first A is always awareness, right? It's always bringing our attention to something, becoming more aware of how much do you sit? How much do you think you sit? Maybe drop it in the comments. Like, it's usually more than we think, right? And so it's really important that we're aware of that. And so for when you're at work and when you're working, how often do you get up and move? So the ideal is that you're getting up every half an hour. I know that seems like a short amount of time, but if you train yourself to work for 25 minutes uninterrupted, and then you have an alarm or a timer that goes off, 5 minutes you get up and move, then you're getting the blood flowing again, you're increasing your oxygen levels, you're activating your muscles, and it's just good to be getting up and moving. Because a lot of times when we get in the zone, we sit and we're sitting for long periods of time. And if you can't get up every half an hour, that's okay, but definitely at least every hour, because at about the 90-minute mark is when we start to see the impacts of sitting really start to accelerate. So it's important that we're getting up and moving throughout the day. So becoming aware of how much you're moving and what you're doing throughout the day to keep your body energized. And we all know that, our mind and our body are connected, right? And so it's important that by keeping your body energized, you're also knowing that you're keeping your mind alert and sharp and creative. So we're going to start with awareness, and then we're going to, this is some points that I just covered right there, so that we're just always getting up and moving. We're getting the blood flowing, our blood pressure. So when you sit, your blood pressure goes up a little bit and the ability to burn fat goes down. So this is really important. The longer we sit, the less we move. The less we move, the slower everything starts to go. Okay, so here's your number one tip here. Get up every 30 minutes, or at the very least every 60. So from there, we're going to talk about our alignment. So how we hold our body. So that's essentially your posture. You're always in a posture. Whether it's a strong posture or weak posture varies, right? So if you look over here, you have Mr. Blue and Mr. Green. And you see Mr. Green here is in the very classic posture of working at the desk. What I want you to make note of is how far forward his head of his shoulders, and especially how far forward his head is of his hips. In comparison to Mr. Blue, you see him here, he's very stacked. Everything is in a line, right? That's what alignment is putting everything in a line. When it comes to your spine, that line is not straight. There's curves to your spine, which are natural, normal, and necessary. So we have a curve in our neck, our upper back, our lower back, and then a little curve right at the base of your spine where your tailbone is. So this is important because these curves are what absorb shock. They reduce pain. It allows transfer of force. Even just walking creates force through your body. And so it's very important. So how we hold our body is our posture. And your posture has a very powerful effect on your mood, your confidence, your appearance, your overall health. So let's just prove this point right here, right now, is what I want you to do is sit up really tall, shoulders back, and then we're going to breathe as deeply as you can. So ready? Try to breathe in as deeply as you can. Big deep breath all the way to the top, and then breathe out. Good. And now I want you to slouch over like Mr. Green is slouched. I want you to slouch over, put your hands in front of you like you're on the keyboard, and now try to breathe again. It's very different, right? And so I'm trusting that you all did that because I can't see you, but I know you're good and you'll do it. So there's a difference, right? There's a very strong difference between sitting up and being able to take that full breath and being slouched over, because it definitely impacts how much oxygen you can take in. And we'll get to that in a moment, but it's really important because when we have less oxygen through our body, we start to get fatigued, we get tired, our brain gets foggy and sleepy, and it has an impact on our energy level and on our mood and how we feel. So this is really important, just important information to have. I think it's really good to have a visual like that because sometimes we don't realize that we actually sit like that, but we might. So I hope that you guys, if you have any questions, rather, you can just pop them in the comments and I'll get to that when I can see the chat in a moment. So we're going to move on from here. So what happens when we use our phone out in front of us is that our head starts to get very heavy. So your head is on average anywhere between 8 and 12 pounds. And when it's right on top of your shoulders, it weighs whatever weight. So let's just say your head is 10 pounds. So when your head is right over top of your shoulders, that's 10 pounds. But then as you start to tilt your head forward or as Mr. Green was doing, let his head gravitate way far out in front. It increases the weight of your head significantly. It starts to double pretty quickly. And on average, when people are texting, so if you look to the far right of our friend here that's texting, it's typically about 6 inches forward, ears 6 inches forward of the shoulders. So if your head was 10 pounds and then the weight doubles with an inch forward, so that's 20 pounds, 40 pounds, so it starts to get really heavy. So it's no wonder that our neck and shoulders are hurting all the time, because our head is very heavy. And as that tension and the weight increases, that's when we start to have tension and pain. And the thing is that since technology is so widely used right now, we're starting to see these postural changes in the little ones as well. So you can see our little friends down here on their devices. And I mean, I'm not a parent, so I can't really speak to this, but I know that I would, be definitely giving them screen time, but I'm sure that over the last little bit, that screen time is increasing significantly. And the reality of our spine is that we need to constantly be moving it to keep everything energized in our body and our muscles that support our spine really healthy. So if we're constantly sitting in this rounded slouch position, it has an impact on us. And, this is sort of the natural posture, if you will, of when we think of an older person, we think, oh, okay, well, this is, inevitably what my posture will look like. And no, that's not the case. But this comes from, there might be underlying conditions as well, but this comes from constantly being flexed forward and not doing things to open the front of the body. So stretch the front of the body and activate the back of the body, engaging the muscles that really hold us in that stronger posture. Because your body position definitely says a lot, right? So if you look at our friend here on the left, if you just looked at her and you didn't know what was going on, you might make an impression, or you might make a judgment that maybe she's feeling really sad today. Like maybe she's feeling really tired. I wonder what's wrong. Like, is she okay? And that's a more collapsed or weaker posture. And so then if we look at our friend on the right, the same woman, obviously, but notice how she's very much upright. She looks energized, she looks alert, she looks present. And so, as I said before, your posture definitely impacts your mood, and your mood impacts your posture. And so we start to recognize that if we are constantly in this posture or position that is slouched and tired and low energy, that looks like we're feeling sad and lethargic, it starts to have an impact on our body. And so it's a really important, just as a reminder, to know that we can have an impact on that. And that's important to remember too, because the reality of our situation is, if you look at these guys, again, tell me what you think. Like, do they look sad? Do they look like bummed out, or what? So here's the thing. The only thing about this picture that's missing is their phones. So a photographer took photos of people and then edited out their phones or their devices to show us how we're sitting a lot, to show us what we're doing in our bodies. And so again, so important for us to remember, look at these guys. It's the same scenario, right? So that same sort of rounded flex forward position where we start to have that C curve of the spine starting to happen. And so it's really, really important that we are not only just aware, but we're just starting to take some action. So let's take a little posture break right now, shall we? I'll just talk about posture. So this is best done standing up if you want, if you have the space for that. And so what we're going to do is, again, just always make sure you're staying in your pain-free range of motion. What we're doing here is moving ourselves back into alignment, right? So we're going to pull into our belly and lift our chest. So the center of your chest, you're going to lift it up. And if you have the space, you're going to stretch your arms out wide to the side, squeezing your shoulder blades back. And then remember to breathe. So lift your belly, lift your chest, squeeze your shoulder blades together, and maybe lift your chin up. Keep breathing. So if it's causing you any pain or discomfort, you just look straight out in front. You can always do this with your arms closer to your body, but really lift, lift, lift through your chest. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, and then pause. Come back to neutral. Notice how when you move out of that, it's a lot easier for you to stay in a more upright position, because now the muscles on the back of your body are fired up. They're holding the spine in a more natural curve. So I hope that felt great for you guys. That was just a little mini posture break. This is something that they recommend that you do at least every hour. Notice that that did not take very long. You can literally do that while you're waiting for, like, I don't know, a file to load or something. Super quick. You can even do that while you're still doing something on your computer. But again, the key is to do it. Okay. So as we do that, we are remembering to breathe. So we're going to move. So we had awareness, we had alignment, and now we're going to move forward to the breath. So when we had that first, when you were sitting and I had you deep breathe while you were upright, and then when you slouched over, probably what you felt there was that it was a lot more difficult for you to breathe deeply, because when we're slouched, our posture weakens. So we kind of go into a rounded position, and your ability to breathe deeply goes down by about 30%. And so that's pretty significant. And so when we are in that posture, and our diaphragm, which is your main breathing muscle that wraps around your rib cage, that is squashed when you're slouched, it doesn't get to move as freely. And so the backup team, which are up in your neck and shoulders, start to have to kick in. And so they are, remember, already tired because they're holding that beautiful head of yours. And so when you are in that position and you're trying to breathe normally, it's difficult. So your body takes short and shallow breaths, which is done by the muscles up in the neck and shoulders. This is a very common breathing pattern, and it's not our natural way of breathing, but it's because of posture. It might be because of injury, maybe just lack of awareness of the breath. You know, breathing's so essential, but we're not really taught to do it properly unless you're going to yoga or something like that. But it's really important for you to remember that when we are in that position and you're taking short, shallow breaths, that's actually triggering stress in your body. Maybe you hadn't realized that, but when you are under stress, when you're in fight or flight, your body is taking short, shallow breaths to bring in more oxygen, to release carbon dioxide, to get things really pumping and moving. So even if you may not be feeling particularly stressed, if you're sitting in that slouch position and you're taking short, shallow breaths, it's triggering stress. So in yoga, there's a teaching that says the quality of your life is equal to the quality of your breath. So the quality of your life is equal to the quality of your breath. So my question for you, and I'd love to know in the comments, is would you prefer your life to be short and shallow or deep and full? It's kind of a no-brainer question, but it's a reality check of the impact of our breath on the quality of our life. And there is a lot of science to back this. So it's really important that we are aware, because if we're constantly triggering stress by way of the breath, and then also obviously with the current situation that we're in, and the financial worries and work and all the things, it's, stress definitely has an impact on our health. Chronic stress depletes our energy. It puts extra wear and tear on our system. It ages us more quickly. It increases inflammation, increases blood pressure and cholesterol. The thing about stress is that when you're in stress or fight or flight, your body is just literally in survival mode. It's like, okay, where's the saber-toothed tiger? I have to keep myself alive. I have to run, or I have to handle the situation. So when that's happening, your brain shuts off higher functions, because it's like survival mode. We don't need to be creative in decision making right now. No, we need to be staying alive, right? So when we're under chronic stress, it's shutting off higher brain functions. So that means that it's harder for you to make great decisions. It's harder for you to focus. It's harder for you to be creative and be productive and have a really good memory. So luckily, when we shift out of stress, that gets kicked back on. We're going to do that in a second. But a lot of this has to do with when we're under stress, we see that the heart rhythm, so the boom, 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 starts to get a little bit erratic and inconsistent. So the interesting thing about that is that we get a sense here for when we are under stress or a negative emotion such as frustration or anxiety. That's approximately what your heart rhythm is looking like. So it's what's called inconsistent or erratic or incoherent. So it's not very consistent. You can see it's jagged, it's hopping all over the place. Whereas when we are experiencing a more positive emotion and we are not in that stress state, your heart rhythm is much more consistent and coherent. So if you look down at the bottom, and we can see that the rhythm is very consistent. The peaks and the valleys are pretty consistent all the way across. And this is really fascinating. And this is all done very, very, very verified research by a highly credited institute called the Institute of Heart Math. And they've been studying the impact of emotional state on our heart and our brain on a physical perspective. So the actual organ of your heart and organ of your brain, but then the emotional side as well, and how much they are connected. So this is really interesting. And what they determined was when we could bring the breath, because the breath is so impactful on our internal state and helping us to shift out of fight or flight or stress, bring the breath to a consistent rhythm. It then allows the heart rate to come to a consistent rhythm. And then that affects the rhythm of the brain. And so when we get into that state, we go into an optimum function in our body. And then there's a beautiful cascade of lowering inflammation, releasing calming hormones. There's hormonal balance. There's there's actually anti-aging hormones that are released. Positive feeling comes into the heart. So it's really interesting that science is now understanding and validating the impact of our emotional state on our physical state as well. And what they determined based on their research and their studies is that they created a really beautiful style of meditation that's so simple that very quickly shifts us into this more coherent heart rhythm. So that's very powerful. And this is what I wanted to share with you today, because I think it's now more important than ever that you have tools to help you ground out and bring yourself back to a calm state and come out of that frantic, worried energy of stress, because it definitely is taxing on the body. So it's important now that we really double down on our efforts of like keeping ourselves healthy as much as we can. So let's try a little meditation. So what we're going to do here is with this meditation, so it's called the heart coherence meditation, is that when you're breathing, we're going to do an even breath. So we're going to inhale for 4 and exhale for 4. But you want to imagine that your breath, you're breathing your breath right into the center of your heart. And then you're allowing the breath to kind of swirl around in the heart and then come back out. Okay, so just kind of feel that sense of breathing into this area and then breathing out. And what I'm going to ask you to do is call to mind or call to heart a person that you love, like really, really love. It can be your child, your partner, anyone that you really, really love. And we're going to think about them, because love and compassion is a very high vibration, positive emotion. So that really helps us to get into the coherent rhythm. Okay. So just for a second, let's place your hands on your heart. So the emotional heart we consider to sit right in the center of the chest. The physical heart's kind of more over to the side, but just kind of feel your way right into this heart space. You can close your eyes and take a breath and breathe out slowly. So imagine that your breath is being drawn in right to the center of your heart. And then I want you to start thinking about somebody that you love. You can visualize them standing right in front of you, or just feeling their energy or their presence around you. Just take a big, deep breath. You can imagine yourself giving them a really beautiful, loving hug. So really just dropping into that space of love and appreciation. We want to feel that right in the center of the heart. And now we're going to equalize the breath. So let's all breathe out together. Breathe through your nose if you can. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. Breathe out. Feel that sense of love. Get it bigger, deeper. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Sit taller. Breathe out. One more. Release your hands down to your lap. Keep your eyes closed. Breathing slow, steady breaths, feeling that sense of love. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So let me know in the comments how you guys are feeling. I find that very, very peaceful, very calming, and it doesn't take much. And it's a really powerful tool. So if you want more information on that, you can just Google heart coherence meditation, and you'll get awesome resources from the Heart Math Institute. So it's a great thing to teach your little ones. It's a great thing to know for yourself, because as soon as you practice it enough, as soon as you drop into your heart space and you feel a positive emotion, you can pick whatever positive emotion you like: gratitude, love, compassion, empathy, happiness. You pick. But it's really about feeling that emotion and equalizing the breath, because the breath is the most powerful tool that we have for lowering our stress level. So because it affects the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of your nervous system that shifts you out of fight or flight into calm state by way of the breath, by activating your vagus nerve. So it's a very powerful tool right under your nose, right? Okay, so let's move forward to another B, which is balance, right? Life is all about balance. In order for us to maintain a healthy balance in our body and counteract all of the sitting and, let's be honest, probably slouching that we do, we must do movements and stretches to balance that out. So we need to restore the delicate balance of both strength and flexibility. Because if we're super flexible, then we're loosey-goosey, and that can cause strain or issues or potentially injury in our joints. But if we're too strong, think like beefy Arnold Schwarzenegger, then we're so big and we're so muscly that we don't have a lot of movement. So it's important that we have a balance between the two, right? And that's the cool thing about yoga, is that while we're engaging some muscles, other muscles are getting to stretch. And then we do the other side of the pose, and then the opposite happens. So it's a very powerful way to keep yourself in balance without, and it also stabilizes your joints and builds bone density while still creating the focus on the breath. So it shifts us into a calm state. So yoga has so many benefits all in one go. You don't have to do a lot. You just have to do it. That's the key. So that's our second B for balance. And now we're going to move on to our C, C for core. So the thing is that when people think about, oh, my core, I'm going to do core training, people just think of their abs, right? Let me know in the comments if that's a reality for you. You thought, oh, okay, I'm going to tighten my core. And you think, okay, I just got to do sit-ups. Yeah. Well, luckily there's a lot of movement away from that, because people understand that your core is actually every muscle that supports and stabilizes your spine. So you can see here that there's a lot of muscles on the back of your body, and they're all very important. They're not all necessarily core muscles, but they're very much involved in supporting your spinal column. So some people argue that your core is actually every muscle in your body, because no muscle works in isolation. And it's really important to remember that we always want to train our body in a functional way. So we're not just crunching, because if you're sitting in slouch all day and you're only doing ab crunches, you're only furthering that posture, right? So this is why it's really important that we do movements like the posture break, or different, stretches of the front of the body to activate the back of your body, because the muscles on the back of your body are what keep you upright and actually support the healthy spinal curves. So this is, I joke and I tell my clients, okay, it's time for tummy time. So I don't know if any of you have children, or, if you knew that when babies are little, they have to be put on their belly. Okay, so say this is the floor and this is the baby. So when babies are little and they put them on their belly, it's called tummy time. So we do that because we're trying to train them to lift their head up. And by lifting their head up, it actually creates and then strengthens the neutral spinal curves. So it's very important for our neurological and our physical development to have that tummy time. So my joke is that because we're all sitting so much and we're slouched over, we're kind of in an embryonic position. Like think of a little, an embryo or a fetus in the womb that's like really kind of squashed in. That's what we're doing right now, is when we're sitting and slouching so much. So it's so important for us to have tummy time as adults. So you can do tummy time literally on your tummy and focus on lifting and lengthening your spine and lifting up, or you can do this standing. There's lots of different variations, but it's all about strengthening your spinal curves and moving back into that more upright position. So think of our friend that was sitting on the stool who was slouched over versus when she was sitting upright. Think of that elderly person that we saw, and really, really important, just validating that it's so important that we move out of the rounded position into a more upright and stronger alignment so that we can sit, stand, and walk taller. So that is one of our C's, is core. Because as Joseph Pilates, you've probably recognized that name. Pilates is a style of core training and exercise. He always was fond of saying that you're only as young as your spine is flexible. So that doesn't mean that you necessarily need to do deep back bends like this, but you have to keep your spine flexible. And that means taking it out of the rounded C curve and going towards the opposite. So any sort of back extension or back bending, even just as much as doing that posture break, is helping us to maintain spinal mobility and flexibility and engaging the muscles that support that. So that is just a really, really important reminder, because spinal health impacts overall health, and it impacts our energy levels, our mood levels, our mood, our stress. So it's really all about being consistent. As it is with anything, as we get a new habit, it's really important that we're consistent with that habit, right? So you've already got lots of tools here about like the heart coherence meditation, the posture break, and being able to really open yourself up. And I know that in our freebie vault, I've shared a lot of awesome resources for you to be able to take 1 minute yoga breaks throughout your day. So 1 minute, we all have a minute, right? And really, now that you know how important it is for your health, you can definitely prioritize that. And I know now that we're at home, our routines are different. So I think it's really important opportunity that we have right now to create a routine for ourselves, to get into the habit of self-care. Right now, it's all about self-care, right? It's all about keeping our immune function up and our stress levels down. How do we do that? We commit to our health. We commit to our health now and for years to come, because consistent effort, a little bit every day, and ideally throughout the day if you're sitting a lot, consistent effort will initiate change. And in that change, when we strengthen our muscles, we get more control. So that's a little bonus C there, is we're controlling the way we hold our body. We're being able to control our breath, because it's really important. You know, a lot of times when we think things are out of our control, the reality is most of the time things are out of our control, but we think that we have more control than we do. But the one thing that we have control over is what we do with ourselves, what we do for our body, what we do for our brain, and how we show up. And prioritizing your health and making that a consistent habit by becoming aware of your alignment. Your awareness of that is so important. Your breath, you're balancing yourself, you're activating your core, so that we have all of these tools. So just as a quick review, here's some tips. So if we go back to our A, awareness to our alignment, how can we do that? Set an alarm on your phone. I have multiple alarms on my phone. My husband is always like, oh, your phone's beeping again. What's it trying to tell you now? So I set alarms. And what I do is whenever I go to my desk, I set an alarm for 25 minutes or a timer. So I set a timer for 25 minutes so that as soon as that goes off, I know it's time for me to get up, because it's hard to stay in that habit if we don't have a reminder, right? Another great reminder is just make yourself a little Post-it note. Write, sit tall, breathe deep. Another important one is notice the way that you hold your phone. So a lot of people hold their phone for some reason down by their belly button. So it's an important habit to get into, to lift your phone up closer to eye level, which keeps you in that stronger alignment. If it's down here, you're more likely to round over. Another cool thing that I heard recently was you can take your rear view mirror in your car and tilt it just a little bit so that it makes you have to sit up, because otherwise if it's down too low, it will kind of allow you to slouch. So that's the A, awareness to alignment. B is slow, deep breaths. Slow, deep breaths. So here we have a really powerful tool available to us all the time. Breathing in for as much as you can, for as long as you can, and then breathe out. So ideally we breathe in through the nose, because it signals the vagus nerve a little bit more actively. And it also, there's filters in your nose, your little nose hairs is also really good for, just purifying the air as it comes in. So you can breathe in through the nose, out through the nose, or breathing out through the mouth as you relax your face. Also really helps to activate the vagus nerve, so shifting us more out of stress. So that's the first B. And then the second B is balance. Easy to remember, stretch the tight, strengthen the weak or the sleepy. Because when we sit a lot, some muscles tend to get sleepy. So for example, because it's being set upon so much, your glutes tend to get a little sleepy. The technical term for this is called gluteal amnesia, i.e. they forget what they're supposed to be doing because you don't make them do very much. I like to call it sleeping booty. So that's why I have strength in the sleepy. So you could call it sleeping booty, you could call it numb bum, what have you. We got to get up and wake up your muscles. You got to stretch the muscles that are getting tight, sore, and tender, and activate the muscles that are not being used so that we hold that stronger posture. And then finally, we got back to our C. So we have core control on the front and the back, right? So how are you holding your body? Bring awareness to your body so that you know how you're holding yourself, and activate the core muscles that hold you strong, and be consistent with it. Little things throughout the day, little bits throughout the day is consistent. So, you know, taking that 1 minute yoga break, there's lots of resources on that one in the freebie vault, but taking that 1 minute yoga break throughout the day, really powerful way to get you back into strong alignment. Taking a little movement break at the beginning of your day to wake up your muscles, rather than just waking up and then going back to the couch and watching Netflix, or waking up and going right to the desk. Energize your body, be consistent, and the results will definitely come quickly, and they will feel good. You'll have more energy, you'll feel more upbeat, you'll feel more positive, you'll feel more yourself, right? So really important to remember. So let's do a little yoga break. I think we're good on time, so let's just take a little yoga break. So what I'm gonna have you do, we've all been sitting for far too long, so I'm not gonna sit. So hopefully you can still see me. I can't see myself right now, but I want you to stand all the way up and then stretch your arms up towards the ceiling. Deep breath. Remember, only if it's pain-free, yeah? So if it's hurting at all, then you wanna just kind of back up and slow down and make it smaller. So deep breath, and then we're gonna exhale. Bring your shoulders down, pulling your shoulders down towards the sides of your body. So I want you to stamp your feet down into the ground, try to squeeze your bum a little bit. So squeeze your bum, breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, reach your arms up, breathe out, pull them down, good. So now work your abs as you do this, and now bring your arms down to the sides of your body. Take a breath. So we're pulling in from your belly and lifting your chest, reaching up through the crown of your head. And then if you have the space, what I'll have you do is take your arms out nice and wide, pull your chin back, lift through the crown of your head, and then just slowly, we're not going to do much, just turn your head from side to side. Turn your head from side to side. Good. Nice deep breath. And then you're going to take your elbows, bend your elbows again. So now you look like a little baby cactus. Yeah. So you look like a little baby cactus. This is also a really good one to do up against a wall, because it really gives you feedback for how you're actually holding yourself. Because a lot of the times, the way we think we're doing it is not actually the way we're doing it. So it's just important to get that feedback. And then see how it feels. You might take your hands to the back of your head. If your shoulder or anywhere in your neck doesn't like that, then just stay in the cactus position, okay? So perhaps taking your hands to the back of your head, but either way, we're gonna lift our belly, lift our chest, and look up. Squeeze your legs, make sure to breathe. Opening your armpits a little bit wider, and then exhale slowly. Let's have a seat. So come on back down onto your chair, please. Excellent. See, I told you you hear lots of roosters throughout the whole talk. And then what you can do now is just give yourself a little hug. Right? Give yourself a little hug. We're all missing hugs these days, I'm sure. And so this is important, because physical contact, even when it's your own body touching your body, is very healing for the body and increases oxytocin and brings down cortisol. So cortisol, main stress hormone. So elbows up, chin down. Breathe deep. And then lift your head up again, and then slide your hands down your arms, and then maybe you do a couple wrist circles. May seem simple, but if you ever have had wrist pain or carpal tunnel, it's intense and it hurts. And so this is important to ward that off. Make sure your wrists stay healthy. So let's do one little twist to finish. So again, we always want to lengthen and come back into that strong alignment. So remember Mr. Blue, how he was sitting up nice and tall. I want you to do that. And then we'll take our arms up, and we're going to turn our belly, turn our chest, and then we're turn in one direction. And maybe you bring your hand down to the seat of the chair. Maybe you look back behind you. Just keep breathing and smile. And then come back to the center, sit as tall as you can, and then turn and go the other way. Breathe. Every time you breathe in, try to get taller. Every time you breathe out, try to twist just a little bit more. And then come back to the center. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Lift your heart towards your thumbs, and then drop your chin down and close your eyes. Big deep breath. And now right here, right now, I want you to drop back into the heart space again. So like we were doing for the heart coherence. And I want you to feel your breath moving in and out of your nose. And I want you to feel a deep sense of love and appreciation for your body, for your health, for the opportunity to be here together, for the opportunity to learn so much, to boost and bolster your success, your health, your wealth, all aspects of yourself, your being. Feeling that deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for your amazing, resilient, strong, healthy body. Remember to breathe deeply. One more big deep breath. Let that sense of love and gratitude get bigger. Let it fill up the space around your body. Let it get so big it almost fills up the room you're in. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So gratitude and love are, again, very high vibration emotions and very healing for your nervous system, for your physical body. And so gratitude in and of itself is a very powerful tool, especially important to celebrate things as they are and what we do have. So it's very important to constantly be thanking your body for how amazing and strong it is, thanking your mind for being clear and able to learn. And I know that might seem silly to some of you and you know, a little bit woo-woo and way out there, but there's science behind it, my friend. Big science about really taking time to love and appreciate yourself and how it boosts your vitality and your overall zest for life, your joie de vivre, as they say. So that is all. What I'm gonna do is hopefully unshare. Oops, stop share. That's what I want. Stop share. Where's my little mousey? Oh, right, I gotta go all the way to the end. Oh, hang on. Let me just click out of this. Oh, sorry guys. Hello. Oh, yay, good.
I gotcha.
Thank you. I couldn't find my little mousey, so thank you so much. So what I wanted to do now is touch base and go back into the chat. I wasn't able to see it. So if there was any questions that anybody had about any of that.
One of the questions I saw in there, Megan, was somebody was asking about how often should we take breaks and stand up?
Great question. Great question. So from a physical perspective, it's ideal for you to take a break every half an hour. Sometimes that's not realistic for people. So at the very least, it needs to be every hour. And the science and the productivity science behind that is that your brain really only pays attention very consistently and very well for about 45 to 50 minutes. So even though you think, oh, I can do this and I can push through, your brain starts to get distracted and it kind of flutters around, and then you're over on Facebook and then you're not really working per se. So in order for you to boost your productivity and keep your body healthy, you get up and move at least every hour. Ideally, if you want a gold star on that, ideally every half an hour.
Okay, and then I see another comment in here, just wonderful. So wish yoga, meditation, corrective work was more valued by employees and society in general. Do you recommend any books or resources for more in-depth data?
More in-depth data? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of resources and studies coming out of, like, Microsoft in different countries started breaking down their days and started to implement more exercise and movement breaks, and saw just drastic increases in productivity. So there's a lot of resources online. If you just Google like productivity enhancement with yoga or stress reduction through yoga or yoga in the workplace, there's a lot of resources out there directly as far as getting data and specific numbers. But I know that there's amazing movement towards validating and just understanding the impact of employee health on their overall productivity. The return on investment when employers, invest $1 into workplace wellness, it actually has a return of about $6. So it's a really high yielding investment, because if an employee is healthy and happy, they're more productive, they're more likely to stick around longer. And so it has a great benefit, and their health costs are lower, injury rates are lower. So there is a lot of data out there supporting that. And then there's a lot of great resources for helping you to integrate these movement breaks and these yoga breaks into your day, including the Yoga at My Desk program, which is created to help people sort of integrate the tools of yoga by taking little mini yoga breaks. So I have a couple of those freebies in the vault for you if you want to check that out. But yes, there's lots of information out there. And I do hope, you're right, I do hope that employers start to really, really validate and recognize this even more. And I think our current situation is only adding to the fact that we need to be taking care of ourselves on a regular basis, that we have to stay strong and healthy and on an ongoing basis. And it impacts our livelihood as well.
Absolutely, Megan. And I, to add to that, I know that there's lots of studies that mention how with all the wellness, there's less absentee rate as well, which impacts that financial aspect.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of studies on that, so that absenteeism goes down. And then there's also impacts what's called presenteeism, which is when you go to work and either you're sick or you're not present and you're not actually doing very much. There's a major cost. I believe it's about $3 billion annually, the cost of stress and how it impacts productivity. So all of it's connected, right? And so if we have a practice that helps you to boost your health on the mind, the body, and the spiritual or the soul level, it has a great impact on our business and on our bottom line. Absolutely. And on the bottom, if you keep it awake and
no more hashtag numb bum.
Hashtag numb bum, sleeping booty, bye.
Well, that is one of the wonderful things about your program, because people can take these mini yoga breaks even when they are in the brick and mortar workplace, or when they're working from home remotely. It doesn't matter. It does lower the cortisol levels, like you were saying. So that's huge right there.
Yes, it is. It's huge. It doesn't take much, and it has a really powerful effect on you.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank you for sharing so much with all of our participants today, Megan. And I know if they have any more questions, they're going to drop them in the chat, or they're going to contact you at your website.
Yes, please do. Reach out with any questions. I'm happy to help however I can.